Hi there, I'm Aleeza Ben Shalom, and this is Sarah Zoldan. I'll do it for you, Sarah.
I thought you were going to say, this is How Jewy Are You?
Thanks for introducing it. This is How Jewy Are You, and we're going to talk all about how to label yourself so your soulmate can find you. Now, I have to tell you, I got a lot of kickback and resistance from this title. First of all, the word Jewy really rubbed people the wrong way. Sorry. And also the word labeling really rubbed people the wrong way. But I am going to explain myself, and I am so glad that you're with me so that I can explain it and we can enjoy this moment together. And you'll be like, aha, all right, I see her line of thinking, but like, hey, you could still use other words. Anyway, here we go. How Jewy are you? And these 3 steps to labeling yourself so that your soulmate can find you. So what's the problem? The problem is if I don't know who you are, if I don't understand it, if you don't give me information like something that is different from a majority of people in the world, then you just blend in. You look like everybody else in the world. You sound like everybody else in the world. And like, how could I make a match? How could I make a good match for you? How's that even possible? It's not really possible, because if you tell me that everybody, like, I'm open, Lisa, I'm open, I'm flexible, whatever comes to me, I'll date. Great. So maybe you'll be dating somebody who's 30 years older than you, or 30 years younger than you, or who comes from a completely different culture and doesn't speak your language. Oh, sorry.
It works.
Right? But could you imagine, you speak English and they only speak Hebrew or French or Chinese or Russian, or how are you going to have the communication? Well, everything's okay. No, it's fine. I'll make it work with anybody. Google Translate. It's true. And then you have to learn the language because you now speak better Hebrew and he speaks better English.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, Google Translate was a very important third wheel in our relationship for a long time.
It's amazing. The quickest way to learn a new language, just find a soulmate who speaks a different
Literally,
one.
everyone's like, oh my gosh, I get so many compliments from Israelis on my accent. And I'm like, all right. And they're like, but how do you get it? I'm like, I dated an Israeli. Like, how do you know Hebrew? And I'm like, I dated an Israeli. Like, what about the accent? I'm like, I dated an Israeli. That's it.
Right. So if you're open to something and you really are open and it's very different from you, that's okay. But still, you should be able to label it, describe it. The word label rubs people the wrong way. So let's throw that out. Describe what you're looking for so somebody else can find it. So I'm going to give you a personal example of my dating experience. Way back in the day when I was dating online and I was on JDate, I'm sure that's where I was. And I had on, like my cute little outfit with my little photo like this and my description of who I was. And I started to describe who I was. And I was like, not exactly sure who and where I was. So like my description to me was like all over the place. But there was still few clues of information that were in there. And you've signed in from another device. Messenger is now
getting the questions synced up.
Okay, thanks. Okay. So I had enough descriptions in there that the guys that were reading the profile, they understood it. And I found one guy online and I messaged him and I was like, I really like your profile and what you say and all of this. And he read my profile and he wrote back and he's like, I'm sorry, but you're not for me. And here's why. I asked why. And then he wrote back, let me tell you why. And he's like, you're like this and like this and like this. And he's like reading my profile and he's telling me like, you not just like your Judaism, but you want to live it. Like you're keeping Shabbat. It's not just like you think it's a good idea and it's fun. And I was like, well, yeah, but like it's new to me and I'm not exactly sure. And then he goes through all these other things and he said, listen, I'm spiritual. But I'm not practicing. And so I'm like, no, but spiritual is good. I like spiritual. And he's like, well, you might like that, but like basically, sweetheart, I don't like who you are. You're a little too Jewy for me. I like my Judaism, but I don't want to be living my Judaism the way that you're living your Judaism. And somebody just wrote in and said, yeah, but he replied, at least you got a response. Let me tell you, I didn't just write to him like, hey, how are you doing? Liked your profile. I think that I wrote 3 paragraphs. I mean, a lot. I mean, I should just log back into JDate and see if it's there. A lot of information. Like, I poured out my heart and soul. Like, I really liked what you said about this and about that. And it's so interesting. And this, everything that he said in his profile, like, there was obviously enough information there for me to go off of. And, I'm new to this online thing. I gave her my whole saga. And, like, it just think like everything just ran, like, it sounded so sweet and wonderful. And like, I'd really love to meet you. And I went through the whole thing. And by the end, he was like, you're too Jewy for me. And I was like, I am? Really? How do you know that? Well, the way that he knew that was because I gave a description. I labeled myself enough without labeling it, because I, at that point, was still not 100% clear, but he got it. And when you label yourself, you do 2 things. You open up the door to possibilities, and you close the door to possibilities. Now, the doors that we're opening should be to the people that are appropriate for you. That's the goal. That's the whole purpose of describing who I am. The doors that are closed to you and the people that say no to you, they should be closed. They're not appropriate. This guy could have never been my husband. We didn't want the same things, and I couldn't see that. It wasn't clear to me at that point because I didn't know how Jewy I was. I'm like, sorry if I'm saying it too much and irritating you. But we're talking about, I'm pulling up my notes there, the 3 steps to labeling yourself. So step number 1 is you've got to be clear about who you are. In my story, I wasn't yet clear. I was still working it out. Like, my written profile was almost like my rough draft of who is Aleeza. And had I rewritten it about 10 times, I would have probably gotten so much more clear and owned up to who I was. Or I should have stopped dating. If talking to myself back then, I would have said, sweetheart, Aleeza, listen, let me just tell you, you're wonderful. You've got a lot of great things going for you, but you're trying on this Judaism thing. You're into it. You're like kind of really into it. And you're no longer secular. Like, you are kind of from, like, you're kind of Jewish. You're a little more Jewy than you think that you are. And you've got to own it. You need to say, Shomer Shabbos. You need to say, Shomer Kashrus. You need to say, I like to pray. I'm working on my tefillah goals. You need to tell people about all of these things. And in your photos, you have to look like it. So if you're dressing modestly, then you have to look like who you are on the inside and out. So number 1 is to know who you are and to be able to identify that and take time to really be detailed about it. Because if you're very detailed about it, then I, Aleeza, a coach, a matchmaker, a friend, a relative, a mentor, anybody in your life can actually help you because you're very clear about who you are. And it makes sense to me when you give it over. Okay. So that's step 1. Step 2 is, now that I've identified it and I'm going to put it out there, you can't be afraid. Don't hold back. Don't hold back and always, well, I mean, I'm like this, but I'm also like that. I'm like this. Just own it. Absolutely own who you are. Be comfortable with who you are. Now, I don't want you to be so rigid and inflexible. You're like, Aleeza, I figured it out. I'm like this, like this, like this. Like here's my box, and that's it. Nobody else gets in place, gets anything out of place. Like just, that's me. Okay, yes. And you're going to live with another human being. And so you're not going to be in a box. You're going to be in a relationship. And in a relationship, you're going to have you and you're going to have me, and we're going to work together. And in this in-between space, we're going to kind of come together. And so I need you to have a clarity about who you are. And I need you to be open-minded when you're meeting people and you're going through this experience, to meeting and letting the right people into your life. And it's okay to turn away and to close the doors to people that aren't appropriate for you. It's 100% completely okay. Are we there yet? Okay. Step 3 to how Jewy are you and labeling yourself is, I need you to get feedback from other people in the world, right? You know who you are. You're clear about who you are. And your projection of who you are, you can't see because you're not in front of a mirror all day long. So I want you to choose 3 people in your life that you trust to give you feedback. And you should ask them, how Jewy am I? If you had to label me, how would you label me? And maybe don't ask them to tell you that to your face. Write it down. Let them send you an email. If they send you an email, they can put more things in there that they might not want to say to your face, but they might not mind writing down. And it's really helpful. One of my clients sent me this email and she asked me, please describe me. And I was like, what? She's like, it wasn't just how Jewy am I? It's how Jewy am I? What are my 3 best qualities and my 3 not best, worst qualities? I was like, oh, really? I had to tell you that? She's like, what are the 3 things I need to work on? And what are the three things I'm great at? And can you identify me? How would you label me? How would you describe me and my Judaism? And where do I fit in? And what happens when I fit into 2 boxes? So she sent this to me and I sent this back to her and she writes back and she said, thank you so much. I have to tell you, I sent this out to a handful of people. I think she sent it out to like 5 or 10 people. I'm only telling you to send to 3. And she said, I synthesized the data and some of the things that you said were consistent with what other people said. And this is really helpful. Thank you so much. When you have data and information, when you understand how other people experience you, then you understand what you're putting out there. If that's the experience that you want people to have of you, great, you're doing a great job showing who you are. But if people start to tell you things and you're like, no, that's not what I want to project, then we have to start to question ourselves. If 3 people said the same thing, that I'm like this, but I don't really want to be like that, or that's a part of me that I've been trying to hide and you could still see it, now we have a problem, then I know exactly where to work on myself. Now, what if you have a situation where I don't exactly know how Jewy I am. I'm not really sure. Aleeza, I'm a little like this and I'm a little like this. I had one client and she said, listen, I've got my foot in the Jewy world and I've got my foot in the secular world and I'm not taking a foot out of either place. I said, do tell me more. And she goes, Aleeza, I'm going to go to my Friday night Shabbat services. I'm going to read and sing and do all the prayers. I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to say my Tehillim. She goes, and Saturday day, I'm going to the mall. And I said, okay, tell me more. How does this work for you? Tell me about this Jewish side of you. How do you want to live? How do you want to raise your children? What kind of a family do you want to have? And how does this fit in? She goes, well, we're going to go to services on Friday. Maybe when I have kids, we'll go Saturday for our Tat Shabbat, thing, and we'll hang out there. And right, she had a little plan. And as soon as she identified it and she knew what it was and she explained it to me, and I was like, okay, I get it. You like your Judaism and you want to live certain parts of your Judaism. You're not going to go all in with 2 feet because it's not for you. And you need a partner who's not afraid of their Judaism, who won't pull back, but who also wants to live in the world. She's like, exactly. And you know what she found? Exactly that. She found a man who was comfortable going to synagogue sometimes and didn't mind to drive on Shabbat or go to the mall sometimes. And for her, that was something that really worked. So we have to figure out what resonates with us, what works for us, what doesn't work for us. And sometimes when we're in between different worlds, like I came from this world, it was a pretty Jewy world, and now I'm a little more modern. Or I came from a modern world, and now I am pretty Jewy. What do we do about all of this Jewy? How do we figure it out? And how can we get to a place where we can describe ourselves for the sake of not identifying ourselves, identifying with who we are, being comfortable with our Jewish identity, embracing our Jewish identity, and then matching that to a soulmate, because that's what we really need to do. We need to find somebody who knows us and likes us, who we know and we understand and we connect to and we like. And then we need to be able to build a relationship together with common values. And our Jewish values are among some of the top values that we want to integrate into our lives. So integrate it wisely and choose a partner wisely. And the way to do that is by defining yourself, labeling, like when you get on all those dating websites, they give you all those boxes across the board, right? Secular, not religious, atheist, reform, conservative, reconstructionist, orthodox, middle of the road. There's about 10 different choices in the orthodox category. Traditional, there's everything. How do you pick a box, which is a really great question? And are you allowed to pick more than one box? Usually they let you pick one. So I'm just going to give you the brief overview. If you know which box you fit into, great, stick it there. If you are on a growth path and you're like, I don't know which way to go, do I go with the box where, like, I'm not in either box, I'm in between a box, right? I'm like coming from here and I'm heading towards here. Which way do I go? Which box do I pick? Pick the box in the direction that you're heading, even if you're not there yet, because you're more likely to find somebody compatible that's willing to go with you along that journey. Okay. And if you like your Judaism and you live some of your Judaism, but you're not Orthodox, but you're not secular, what are you? You, my friend, are traditional. I love traditional. It's such a great box to be in. You know, I love my Judaism. I live parts of my Judaism. I'm not Orthodox. I'm not taking everything on and doing so much. I'm not living a secular life and ignoring my Judaism, and I'm not doing anything. I'm not atheist. It's not like I don't believe in God. Of course I believe in God, but I'm just not doing everything. I'm doing some things. I have traditional values. I want to learn. I want to grow. I have a connection to God. That box, my friend, is the traditional box. And I think it's a really great box to be in. Okay. Sarah, how are we doing with the questions and opening it up? Great.
Just finished getting them all together.
Perfect timing.
Yeah.
So give everybody the rules of the road and we will get started.
All right. The rules are as such. Questions go in the Q&A box. So there's a difference. I know Carly put this in the chat right at the beginning. One, there's a chat box somewhere on your screen and there's a Q&A box somewhere on your screen. Chat box is great for chatting. But if you ask a question in there, most likely, Aleeza's like the background slides.
the mime.
It'll likely get lost in the chat box because I'm managing all the different questions going on anywhere. So don't put it in the chat box, put it in the Q&A box. If you asked a question prior to the webinar while you were registering, I have those questions. Hopefully we'll get to all of them, unless it's not related to this specific webinar, which surprisingly, this is the first week. There weren't that many, so that's a good thing. Yay. Most of the questions are right on target. So without further ado, Aleeza.
Wait, I first want to say thank you so much to our sponsor, Makeup by Goldie. She is on Instagram and she is phenomenal. If you have any interest in these, this is probably for the ladies. Men, this probably won't interest you, although she is single, but she won't mind me telling you. She's fabulous. She has really fantastic makeup tutorials, information, and she is just she's dynamite. Check her out.
Awesome. All right, so before I bring up the first question, I kind of want to just tell you the different categories of questions. So we have categories about labels, defining labels. So I know everyone kind of has different definition of labels, but a lot of people are asking what is like the going meaning of the labels out there. So let's do the ones that are coming up.
Great.
And then the second category, let's start. Okay.
One thing at a time for me. That's how my brain works.
Before we get to that though, you might have touched on this. So if you did, just be like, sorry, I already answered that. But why, I'm going to ask a different question and then we'll jump into labels. So why do Jews judge the religious level so early on without actually getting to know their date? Isn't that like sinat chinam, which is
baseless hatred?
I would think maybe, if anything, would be judging. But why do they do that? Why is this such an important aspect that we judge someone just based on their label without actually getting to know them?
Because a label isn't a label, because a label is an identity, because it's who I am and it's what I'm doing and it's how I practice my Judaism in the world. So if I'm Orthodox and you're secular, it's not going to work because I want to keep Shabbat and I want to keep kosher and you want to go out and not keep Shabbat and not keep kosher, and our lifestyles are going to be different. And I'm not going to judge either lifestyle. They're just not compatible. And so it's a very strong place of compatibility or incompatibility. Is that the right word? That we don't either we do or we don't match. And before we even talk about personality or other things or this, like if our lifestyles don't match, I don't care. You could have the best personality in the world. I might love you. We should be best friends, but not men and women. We're not going to be friends. A whole chapter about not being friends in my book, but we're not going to talk about that. Okay. So you can't have that true compatibility to live a lifetime of life together. I didn't say that last part
what
right,
you're saying is that it's not about, you're not judging the person, you're judging, do I think this person is a good match for me and my lifestyle and the kind of lifestyle I want to raise a family in.
Exactly.
All right, great. Next up, how would you define so I think this person is looking for a label, but how would you define being a Jew in my soul?
Being a Jew in my soul? Oh, I want to ask you like a dozen questions. So a Jew in my soul, right? So like, does it mean you connect to your Judaism, you like it, but you don't go out of your way to do it? Like, do you learn with classes online or podcasts, or do you attend any services, or are you involved in any groups, or like, it's a really good question. You know what? Usually this label is, I came up with it, spiritual. A Jew in my soul, usually people put down a spiritual means like, I don't know if I'm going to be practicing, but I have this within me. And they usually define that in a way of spirituality. That would be a good label.
I'm going to add to that. I think also depending on whether some people are Jew, like would say I'm a Jew in my soul and that's it. It's just a spiritual thing. Some people say I'm a Jew in my soul and there are certain practices that I do. So then you would get into, okay, what are those practices? How extensive are those practices? One that didn't come up at all in the questions, but a term that I really like is a cultural Jew. It's not the same thing as a traditional Jew. So right. I remember the first time and I'm not saying this is everyone who identifies as a cultural Jew, but I remember the first time I met someone like that. I was a program director at a senior living community, and we had a young guy who was about my age come in to do Shabbat services on Friday afternoon. And we were taught, I come from an Orthodox background and I'm Orthodox, and obviously we got into conversation, and he was like, well, I'm not sure I believe in God. I was like, what? Then why do you come say Kiddush and Challah every week with my Jewish residents? And he's like, because that's my heritage. Like, that's my history. That's my culture. And I was like,
love it. Beautiful.
Yeah. Anyway, it took me a while to get it. It took me a couple of years, but now I'm just like, I think that's really special that someone who isn't even sure what they believe in, and he's young and there's so much life ahead of him for him to think and figure out. And that, I don't mean that in he has to come to terms with the fact that there's God. That's not what I'm saying, but I think it's cool that even at that young age, there's still this connection, just as this is my family history. Anyway, okay. What's the difference between modern Orthodox Machmir and modern Yeshivish?
Oh, so we have modern Orthodox liberal, modern Orthodox middle of the road, modern Orthodox Machmir, modern Orthodox Yeshivish. Is that
modern Yeshivish?
I'm sorry, sorry. It's late. I went to bed late. Modern Yeshivish. Thank you. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
That fanning out of the okay, so good. How do we classify?
Well, actually, yes and no, but I'll let you go.
No.
No, I think it's a good start.
Okay, so modern. Sorry, give me it's modern Yeshivish.
Modern Orthodox. So but we also had, what's the difference between modern Orthodox Machmir and modern Orthodox liberal? So let's just go through all of them. Start with modern Orthodox liberal.
Okay, so modern Orthodox liberal. Oh, I'm so bad with definitions. I'm really not the definition queen.
Okay. I'll take it.
You start, and I'm gonna you lead and I'll follow.
Okay, modern Orthodox liberal is someone who identifies with the modern Orthodox philosophy of Torah Umada, which essentially is living in this world where Torah and modern science and secular culture to some degree
blend together.
Yes, that's the word. Blend together. So that's the modern Orthodox philosophy. Modern Orthodox liberal, I would say, even with every label, there's always a range. But modern Orthodox liberal, I would say, identifies with this philosophy, but may not necessarily keep the practices or keep some practices, but probably not with any degree of stringency.
Great.
Modern Orthodox Machmir is someone who again identifies with the Torah Umada philosophy, but is careful with halacha. So like halachic practices and laws, they are often like kind of like how yeshiva students learn full-time. You'll have modern Orthodox Machmir people learning full-time.
Right.
Also go to school and get an education. But there's this like strong rooted, they're strongly rooted in the halachic practices of Torah.
And I'd say like the Judaism piece comes at the forefront, and the educational piece is strong, but it's not like, we know that the Judaism and the Torah is center, and that's coming along with it. No, not necessarily.
Not modern Orthodoxy. I don't think so. I think
modern Orthodox
Yeshivish. Modern Orthodox Machmir, they're pretty much on the same level, whereas modern Yeshivish is we recognize that at the end of the day, we live in a secular world. So we live our lives according to Torah, and we supplement that, or we accent that or accessorize that or whatever with everything else.
Right. The difference that I'm saying is, if you had to choose secular world or Jewish world, which comes first in terms of modern Orthodox Machmir, what I found is that people, they lean towards their Judaism. The other stuff is important. I'm not saying it's not important, but if I had to pick one over two, like in modern Orthodox liberal, you could have them side by side, right? They're like there in tandem, in connection with each other. With modern Orthodox Machmir, I think your Judaism is going to come first, and the secular world, which is strong and important to you, but it's going to follow. You're not leading with your secular life and everything else that you're doing. You're leading with your Jewish foot, and the other things are integrated into your Jewish world.
I hear. Okay.
And so modern. So we got through modern yeshiva.
Wait, there was one more thing I wanted to say about that. There's typically with modern Orthodox Machmir, there's a passion for it. Like there's a passion for the Judaism, which might be what you're actually talking about in terms of leading with that. And then modern Orthodox middle of the road is somewhere between modern Orthodox Machmir and modern Orthodox liberal. Now, obviously, these are like very stereotypical, generic.
Yeah. Welcome to labeling.
Out
like
the
if
labels.
Anybody sees this, you're gonna be like, this is wrong.
Yeah.
This is wrong.
So if you identify with one of these and you're like, not exactly, that's totally fine. But I think it gives like a good basic understanding of where most people are at within those categories. So like I said, modern yeshivish is very much driven by Torah and halachic practices. And then we also learn other stuff, and we also have like a proper education to support that. Support, that's the word.
Proper education is like a little, that rubs me the wrong way, that word. We have a secular education.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Good point.
Good catch.
modern yeshivish, and because I see this is coming up, someone just said in their question, I don't like the moniker of modern. I think a lot of people look at this term and think less religious or cutting corners. What does Aleeza say? So before Aleeza answers, I'm just going to say I remember the first time I heard the term was when I was asked this question I was setting up a dating profile. And it was like, are you modern yeshivish, or Hasidish? Or like the modern Orthodox? And I was like, none. I'm just plain Orthodox. Why is there no Orthodox option?
Right? There is no.
I'm not modern Orthodox.
There's no Orthodox. I mean, like, there is an Orthodox box, but if you click it, it's only to define that I'm Orthodox if you click that in comparison to conservative or reformed or reconstructionist, that's in comparison. Either you're like, it's putting you in a large camp, but the Orthodox umbrella, it has so many other things underneath of it, that there's really a lot of things that go there.
Right. So I remember I was like, well, I grew up yeshivish. I don't identify as yeshivish anymore, but I'm not, to me, modern yeshivish sounded like I'm going to reject the yeshivishness and like try to put my own spin on it. And I was like, I don't know. I don't think that's what I am either. I'm just plain good old Orthodox and whatever. Anyway, they did not let me put in that option, and I requested, why not? Like, I was communicating with the admin, and he was just like, "Well, pick a box. Just modern yeshivish." And I was like, "I don't identify as modern."
But I don't want to. What did you pick? What did you pick?
I picked modern yeshivish, and then after that, I heard it a lot more, and then I recognized, okay, in the shidduch system, in the shidduch world, I am considered. This is what it means. So I agree with you. I don't like the term. It sounds, so it's not less religious. It's just, I think it's a little bit less of, inside the box of yeshivish. Yeshivish is a fairly narrow,
Yesher Tsar Me'od, a very narrow bridge. Yeah, go ahead.
And modern yeshivish is a little bit more bringing in secular culture and bringing in secular education and that kind of stuff. And it's not necessarily cutting corners. Like, I have so many modern yeshivish friends, and it's totally not a cutting corners thing. So I would say modern yeshivish and modern Orthodox machmir, when it comes to halachic practices, on par with each other. When it comes to hashkafa and ideology, a little bit different. That's good.
I have to tell you, definitions, I know, you know what it means here.
I had to explain this for many years. Where I fit and why I wouldn't date this kind of guy and why I would date that kind of guy. I got it down pat. All right. Let's get to the next question. So someone says, I think based on the difficulty in understanding what the labels mean is part of the issue of ascribing labels because it means different things to different people.
Yes.
That's true.
Huge issue. So the whole thing is, right now I could label myself because I understand what they mean. So I'm going to say what it means. But when you read it, you don't know what it means. So what good did it do for me to even label myself? Because it doesn't mean anything to you. So it is a little bit of a crapshoot, like rolling the dice right. But it's the best that we can do. What I prefer people to do, because you have to pick a box sometimes on the dating websites and other places, you pick your box, but it's not about the box. It's about your definition. And I always tell my clients when they're writing their profiles, what I want you to do is I want you to take what you labeled and I want you to say, let me tell you what modern Orthodox machmir means to me, what modern Orthodox liberal means to me. Let me explain what traditional means to me. To me, it means this. Now I know what it means. That's why when we're talking about labeling, there's labeling, which is really a lousy word for what we're doing. There's really the description, right? You have your dictionary word and then you have your dictionary definition. We want the definition of what you mean, but you don't always get that choice. And sometimes you have to pick a box. I know there's one, is it J-Swipe, where it's like kosher or not kosher. You get two options. That's it.
No, there is Orthodox on J-Swipe.
No, but they have kosher, not kosher, right? But
yes,
I have people, they're like, Aleeza, I'm kosher in, but I'm not
home,
kosher
but not
out.
Kosher out. Right.
Or I do modified kosher. There's like, I can't pick a box because I don't know which box I'm in. I said, okay, listen, by the way, this is helpful, if you do anything in the kosher category, even if you're not kosher, but you're kosher to your degree, pick kosher, because that means you're looking for like-minded people that have some sort of connection to kosher. We don't know what kind of connection because it's a generic box. But if you pick not kosher, then we know you're not on the same page, because that's not 100% what you're looking for. So it's a little bit better that you lean towards picking kosher. And it's really actually helped people because it weeds out the people that maybe aren't as connected to their Judaism in the way that you might be connected, and it draws those other people to you. So that's a really great, and like if you're in the traditional box, even if you don't 100% keep kosher, write down kosher, you'll get more traditional type people.
Yeah. Someone else just gave a good example of modern yeshivish. She says, I dress yeshivish. I come from a yeshivish family. I want to attend college to get my master's. So that's also a good example.
Awesome.
So if she would go to like a co-ed college, that would be modern yeshivish. If she would go to an all-girls college, that could still be plain yeshivish or regular yeshivish, whatever. Anyway, okay.
This is, you know, like how can people even make a decision? There's we're so divided. There's so much, but no, it's not about divided. It's really about differences. There's so many differences about who we are, and we're really trying to get to the truth, like to the essence of who I am, so you know me, so you could match me with my soulmate. That's really all we're trying to do. It's not labeling for the sake of labeling. We're labeling for the sake of soulmate, so that the search could be easier.
All right, next question. I really don't fit into any of the boxes, and I don't want to. Do I have to have a label, or can I create my own label?
On the dating websites, they do not have fill in the blank. They might have other, but other usually means like not Jewish or in the process of conversion, or could mean like a lot of different things. If you're talking about just in general in life, do I have to label myself, or can I just like not do that? In life, you don't have to. If you're on one of the sites that require it, you do need to pick a box, because the algorithm, and you're working with, you're not working with human beings here. You're just working with a computer system that is going to pop things up based on who you identify as, and it can't identify with sentences. It can only identify with boxes. So you're going to need a box if you want to be on those sites. If not, you could just explain it to everybody.
If you're talking to a matchmaker though, well, first of all, even online, that's where your profile comes in handy, because that's where you can put information.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't just say like, oh, I hate labels, I'm not definable. You know what I mean? Like, don't tell people what you're not. I think, Aleeza, you told me this. Don't tell people what you're not, tell them what you are. So saying I don't fit into the box, or I don't ascribe to any label, isn't helpful. That doesn't tell me anything about you or what you're looking for.
Right.
Instead, you can, if you want to start with that. But like, I do identify as a person who, you can describe your behavior and your practices rather than putting a label on it in the profile. And the same with the shadchan. Like if you're speaking to a matchmaker or you're asking friends to help set you up and you really, really don't want to give a label, that's fine, but help describe to them what kind of person you are and what kind of person you're looking for in terms of religiosity.
Right. And realize that description of who you are, it is a label. It's not the concise version.
Right.
The 2 or 3 word version is just like Orthodox, modern Orthodox, Machmir, Reform, conservative. Like that's just the teeny version, right? What you say about yourself, it's the expanded version anyway. And what I'm trying to do is to say, you have to condense it. And if you had to condense it and stick it into a box, which box would you check? And we don't always have the options to check no box. It's just not an option. So you're boxed in by default of the system. If you don't like the systems, don't use them and just talk to people. But they can be helpful. And I think, and they're not true. It's not like, this is not you. This is not a stamp. This is not the essence of who you are. I know you are so much more than that teeny little box.
I think what I also found helpful is thinking about, if I don't fit into a box or I'm between boxes, which box would I feel more comfortable with people like which kind of people from which box do I want reaching out to me? So if I'm between modern Orthodox liberal, modern Orthodox liberal, and there is one for that. If I'm between modern Orthodox Mahmir and modern Yeshivish, and I'm not really sure where I identify, I would think about, okay, which kind of guys do I want to reach out to me? Would I be more comfortable
Love it.
with Orthodox Mahmir, or would I be more comfortable with
Right.
Orthodox liberal?
So you're not really so think about this. I got it. You're not really labeling you. You're really labeling who you want to be with, or who you want to more closely with. Oh, that's a big hop, Sarah. Big, big, big.
Thank you very much. I learned from the best. I have a good teacher.
A round of applause. Yes.
What if?
By the way, wait. I just want.
Oh, we just answered that.
That is the golden nugget of the evening. If you would like to know, there's always a golden nugget of wisdom. There's probably many, but from this evening, what you just heard from Sarah, that is the golden nugget of the evening. If you can't pick a box for you, pick the box that you think your soulmate's going to be in. Check that one off, because that's where you're more likely to find them, and that's how they're more likely to find you. Okay, that's it. Like, webinar's over. We're good. That's it. Like, solve every problem. Really great.
Okay, so I just answered the question, what if I'm not sure how to label myself? Let's do one more here. I'm still growing. How do I know how to label myself if I don't know where I'll end up? And what if I'm okay with a range because I'm still growing?
Yeah, so growing is great. Label yourself up, not down, right? So wherever you're holding, either where you're at or a step above where you're at, and describe it in the description below. Like, I'm here and I'm heading in this direction. Tell me your trajectory. I need to know that, because that helps me to choose you and to say, oh, that's a good fit for me. And somebody who's not growth oriented and not heading in that direction, they're gonna be like, oh, they sound great, but yeah, I don't want to be pushed like that. I'm good where I am. So that's how I would handle that one.
Awesome. So we got a couple technical questions from some people who are live, so I'm going to ask those. Can you be modern Orthodox? Can you label yourself as modern Orthodox liberal if you're not completely Shomer Shabbos? Like if you watch TV because you live alone and are anxious during a pandemic or are dealing with depression?
First of all, you can label yourself anything you want. No problem. Who's going to tell you no? You can totally do that. I think the answer is yes. Did you guys watch Shtisel? How many people here watch Shtisel? Comment in the comments if you did. By the way, season 3 is coming out.
I think I stopped after season 1.
Oh, it's so good. You got to get back on. I'm sorry. Really, everybody's been telling me for a long time I had to watch it. Anyway, one of the characters in the show had like the radio on, and they turned the radio on before Shabbos because, whatever, the same complaint, lonely and this and that. And, somebody came to kind of give her a little bit of musar. And what's the translation? Translate musar for me. Like to reprimand,
working on your character traits,
right? Like, but came to say, like, just because you turn it on before Shabbos and that you didn't turn it on Shabbos doesn't mean you're supposed to be listening to it. Like, it's not in the spirit of Shabbos, right? But it's different if you turn something on, turn it off, or you leave it on, or you don't, right? So I think put yourself where you want to be, where you aspire to be, or where you want the other person to be at, and get the support that you need to get through the pandemic and through this time period, because it's a difficult time period for a lot of people.
I want to add to that. I'm going to add to that and then I'll make a different comment. I also think it's super, super important, and I'm so happy that even within the yeshivish community, this is something that's becoming more, there's more awareness around it. It's something that's being spoken about more, but anything mental health related has an entirely different set of halachos. Like, halachic law is different when there's a mental struggle, mental illness at play. So someone who's struggling with anxiety or depression, and specifically now during a pandemic when everything is being thrown off, definitely speak to your LOR. There's so much that you could do for yourself within the parameters of halachic practice that you might not have ever dreamed would be allowed. So I just want to put that out there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So there's some great conversation going on in the chat, and I just realized that it's all like being sent to all panelists. So I don't know if that's on purpose, but that means that no one else can see it. And there's so much good comment. So if you're commenting, try to set, unless it's super personal, set your settings to panelists and everybody so that everyone can see what's coming in. I can't really focus on everything, but there's one comment that came in that I like. Someone said, I added this to my profile. I'm committed to a life of Torah observance and try not to get caught up in specific identity labels such as modern Orthodox, Yeshivish, etc. I pride myself in having close friends throughout the spectrum. Love that last sentence. And I would still add, tell them that doesn't tell anyone what you're looking for. I understand you're committed to life of Torah, but I don't know if that means that like you're super
reading
about
Torah
it and you want to raise your kids with that, or if you're more chill about it. Like, it doesn't help someone else who's looking to see what kind of guy are you. It tells me about your values. It tells me that you value diversity and that you respect people across the spectrum, but it doesn't tell me what kind of thing you want. Oh, I see.
No.
There is a part that says learning Torah daily and prayer are an essential part of my life. So
but what about Shabbat or kosher?
Right.
Or you're talking about values versus practices. And we need to know both. I need to know what you value, but I need to know your practices, because if they're not aligned with my practices, then it's not going to be a match.
Yeah. And sometimes I think it's really helpful to define that less in terms of me and who I am, but more in terms of what kind of home and how do I want to raise my family. Sometimes just easier than like nailing yourself down. No?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Next question. If I'm having a hard time with my observance, keeping Shabbat, what do I say to the matchmaker or the guy about myself? Do I say modern Orthodox? Do I say traditional? Or just describe what I do or don't do? Then I'm afraid they won't want to meet me, and I'm already in Chicago where there are very, very few people to meet. Can you share some good descriptive words with us?
Ooh, good descriptive words. So sharing some of your practices are important. I would also share the type of family that you came from, and I would share how you're similar or different to them, right? So if you can label the family and say, well, I grew up modern Orthodox something, Machmir, right? And now I'm not sure what label to put on myself, but I could tell you that I mostly keep kosher, or I do that in the house, and I keep most Shabbats, but not all Shabbats. You know, like I think that like Sarah said, you have to actually label the behaviors that you're doing and to identify the practices. But more than that, what direction are you heading? And if you're not 100% sure if you want to do a little bit more over the course of time or a little bit less over the course of time, it might not be the perfect time to start dating, because knowing where you're at now is good, but knowing the direction that you're going will make the difference between this person being appropriate for you or completely wrong for you. So we do need to have a little bit more clarity in that. Sometimes it takes a lot of guts for somebody to say, you know, I came from, you know, something very much more to the right than where I am, and I'm so much more in a modern world place, not modern Orthodox, but a modern worldly place, and I'm not really where I was. I'm just in a very different place, and to embrace that and to be okay with that. Or vice versa, came from a very secular place. I don't want to alienate my family, but I'm really heading to this religious, observant lifestyle, and I'm having a hard time, but how am I going to integrate my family and not lose that at the same time?
Aleeza, I have a thought, and I want you to tell me as a professional what your perspective on this is. So this is again where I would go to, like you said, where are you going towards, and really bring into like what kind of home do I want to have. But I think if you're struggling on a personal level with certain things, but you know, you do have the clarity of where you want to go, and you know that with a partner that's supportive, that's not going to really be an issue, or it might be a little struggle at the beginning, but you can quickly find your stride. I don't think that you have to say where you're at right now and what you're struggling with. It's probably something you'll talk to your date about, but I don't think that's something you have to tell the matchmaker.
Sometimes it's helpful not to, you know, show your whole hand and to expose yourself, because not everybody can understand where you're coming from, and it's harder for them to make a match. So there's this very delicate balance between I'm going to tell you a lot about myself and these things have no relevance and you don't need to know, and I'll share that only with the person that I'm dating. So based on your history and your experience in working with a matchmaker or other people in your life, what things do you think you need to add to what you need to say, and what should you delete from what you say in order to get better results? And it's very individual, so I can't generalize that for you. I can give you the tool on what to do or how to think about it, but I can't tell you exactly what that is unless we know who you are.
Awesome. Thank you. One point that came up in the chat that was made public, so I want to address it. Quick point, be very careful with dating. If you are experiencing depression, you will probably not be representing yourself in the best light. Happy to hear your thoughts. I'm going to say I really strongly disagree. Most people with depression who are at a place where they're dating have an excellent team of professionals that they're working with. They're in a place where they feel comfortable dating.
Most people?
That's what I'm thinking about the word most. I'm thinking about the word most.
Everybody's in a different spot. Some people have support and they have great support networks. Some people are at the beginning of their journey and they don't have great support networks. Some people are burnt out from their support networks. Some people's support networks need to be modified because they thought they were working, but they're really not working for them. Here's the thing, I'll tell you. With depression, in general, it just follows you. Like, it's kind of like a chronic condition that sometimes lies dormant within you, but it's hard to overcome that. And it comes out at different times, and it comes out more strongly or weaker at other points. If you're not strong enough to pick yourself up emotionally, to be in a place where you can go through the dating process and brave the storm, don't date right now. Take a little bit of time, do whatever you need, do self-care, do a lot of things, but don't add dating into the mix. If you've been dealing with depression, you're on meds or you're not, or you have your support network, it's an up and a down and it's a daily struggle, but you are trucking and getting through it, then you're just going to integrate this into your dating life and you're going to bring yourself along, and if you have a momentum to it, right? If you can't get out of bed, if you're not seeing people, if you're not being social, if you're not eating so well, if you're not exercising, if you're not satisfied or going to a job or don't have a job, or if all of these things are resonating with you, then it would be time to take a break, focus, get some other things in place where you're going to feel happier and healthier and more motivated. And the level of depression is going to decrease so that it's still going to be there, but it's not going to be there.
Yeah. That was really helpful. I think my point, the one bit that I didn't like is the comment about you might not be like giving the right impression or whatever. Like, if depression is something you're struggling with, it's likely something you've struggled with a long time. It's likely something that you're going to be struggling with. Like, don't put that extra pressure on yourself of like, oh, am I making a good impression? Like, if everything is as Aleeza said, right, you're in a place where you're ready to date, then go for it. And if you're not, don't.
Right. The other thing is
same page, really.
But depression isn't you. It's not all of you.
Correct.
It's a piece of you. It's this
Correct.
piece of you, right?
Correct.
You've got other things about you that are phenomenal and great, and they are easier for you to navigate than depression. Depression is one thing, but it's not a label that's like, like a raccoon, like it's on your face. They just see it everywhere. It's a piece of you. It comes out sometimes, and other times it doesn't, and that's okay. It's just one of many parts of who you are. Don't lead with the foot of depression, like, hi, I'm depressed, how are you? Lead with something else, and that will come along later as a part of the package. Like, oh yeah, by the way, and I struggle with depression, but I've gotten through it, and here's how I've managed. Here's what I've learned along the way.
Awesome. One more label. Can you define balabatish? I've always
you're gonna do
defining it. I will say I've always struggled with defining this, so I'm going to tell you what I believe it to be. I think balabatish is yeshivish, but not in yeshiva. So someone who has yeshivish values, but works during the day. Like, they're not sitting and learning in kollel. They're not sitting. They're not in a position. How do you say klei kodesh in English? Like, they're not teaching, they're not
like Jewish, right? And like Jewish studies.
They're not in a
Jewish education.
right?
It's
But they
yeah.
have yeshivish values.
Good. Sorry, that was good. That nailed it. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Holy, right. Kodesh holy studies, like the Jewish studies.
Yeah. All right. Let's get we have 10 more minutes. So let's get a couple more questions in. How important is a Jewy trajectory while dating? Is it a non-starter if one person is growing faster than the other?
No, growing faster than the other is okay as long as you're heading in the same direction. Okay. If you're going in different directions and you're growing in different directions, we have a problem. If you're going in the same direction and somebody is going ahead of the other, it's okay. They might arrive there sooner than you, or they might get further along the road than you, but it's still usually workable. It depends how much tolerance you have for differences in a relationship and how good your communication is and how well and how easily you're able to overcome and to navigate these conversations where you have these differences. So it is workable, but it does take effort and a lot of good, solid communication.
Awesome. And would you say that's the same answer for how can a man and a woman move forward in a relationship if one is more religious than the other?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's all about that communication. This is not specifically dating related, but I like the question because I've seen it come up so much and it could be dating related. So I'm going to ask you, how do you, and if you don't want to answer it, you know, that's your prerogative. How do you distill what kind of Jew you want to be from what kind of Jew your mentors want you to be?
Oh, okay. So I love when people decide and know who they want to be and not who their mentors want them to be. Because when you grow up and you, even if you're in touch with your mentors for many years to come, it's not their life. It's not who they are. It's who you are. It's kind of like parents, right? Like my parents, they always wanted me to be a doctor. So I went to be a doctor, but I never really wanted that. I wanted to be a lawyer, a veterinarian, right? There was something else I wanted in life, but like this was important to somebody else and I valued them. So I did what they wanted.
Don't lose your train of thought, but did you see that meme about, oh my God, I'm blinking. The vice president-elect, what's her name?
Camilla Harris.
Not
who? Harris? Who are you talking? What?
Yes, her.
Camilla Harris.
So her husband is Jewish, I think, right? Did you see that meme where it was like, we're gonna have the first Jewish first man or whatever it's called, and then it's like his mom, yeah, but he could have been a doctor.
I didn't see the meme. Okay, right? So we don't want you to be what somebody else wants you to be. Now, it's different if your mentor says, I see certain potential with you. I see a certain drive in you. I see a certain direction in you. And I want to help you to develop that side of yourself if you're motivated to also develop it. But a mentor shouldn't really tell you who you should be. And if they are telling you that, then they're not really a good mentor. They should really help you to identify who you are and to embrace who you are. And to me, number one, Hachi Tov, that is the best. It is the greatest thing for you to know who you want to be, to identify with it, and to respect the mentors and the people in your life who guide you. But if you don't choose who you want to be, you marry who they wanted you to marry, and then you also divorce that same person because it's not who you really wanted, and it's not who you really are.
Yeah, there's so much that Aleeza just said, so unpack all that. The only, I think what's important to remember specifically with regards to dating is you might run into an issue if you have them as a reference and or if you have them as a go-between. Very often, like people who have mentors will have, you know, matchmakers speak to, okay, Aleeza, take it away.
No, I'm like, sound like my head's exploding. I'm like, yes. This is one of the biggest issues because they want you to be this, or they see the potential within you to be this, and they want you to be with somebody like this. They tell everybody that this is what you want and this is what they think is good for you. And it's not what you think is good for you, and it's not what you want. And so that can be a huge issue. And I've seen it happen so many times. Parents, mentors, other people that are guiding or references for singles, they're like, oh, well, I think they're like this, and I think this would be good for them, because they're like leading and guiding you down this path of like, I want them to marry somebody like this. And meantime, you're like this. I said like this. And no, they're not listening to you. And you're like, but I said that. Why are you not listening to me? And they're like, that's not good for you, sweetheart. You want that. And you're like, I don't. Does nobody hear me? I don't want that. Right. So yeah, you have to be very, very careful. It's really true.
And you might have to fire them as that go-between, not as your mentor,
Yes.
but as the go-between. And I know it can be really hard, but it has to be done. If you need help, Rachel Tuckman has an amazing video on boundaries. This is a boundaries issue. Like if they're not taking what you're saying, even if it's because they see the good in you, that's a boundaries issue, and that needs to be. And by the way, this also applies like if people have parents involved or anyone really involved in their dating experience. Okay. How to navigate, we might have just answered this, but how to navigate being a different level or a different type of Jewy than your family?
No, I don't think we really answered that. How to navigate it is to first identify it within yourself and to get really comfortable with it. When you're really comfortable with who you are and somebody comes and they like give you a shove, but you're like comfortable, grounded, solid. They push you, you don't push back. You don't fall back so hard, because like I am who I am and I'm okay with it. If you're like, I'm sort of okay with it, but not really. And they come and they're like, you're not really like that. You like, it knocks you down. You have to pick yourself back up. So first you have to get strong within yourself. And then you have to slowly over the course of time, or if you're direct like Sarah, say it like it is. Like, I'm like this and you're like that. And here's the differences between us. And I just want to make sure that's clear, because in dating, I'm looking for this and I'm not looking for that. And I know you want that, but I don't. I want this. Right. So you can either do like the drip, drip, drip over the course of time, tell them a little bit of information. So they like, oh my gosh, you're different than us. And they have this aha moment. Or you can just be direct and say it like it is and just identify the differences and the similarities.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Next question. So I have two major obstacles. It seems I'm Jewish, yet not by birth. So I'm going to assume that is a convert, and I am Black. Why so many rejections?
It's a really good question. So everybody, there's all different types of Jews. We have different colors and different, races within Judaism. We have different backgrounds within Judaism. We have people from so many different countries. And I think it's just like, as we add on things, it's just differences. And I think if we didn't come from it, or we don't know it, or whatever, we might not feel super connected to it. So for some people, they are, believe it or not, they are drawn to converts. They are drawn to Blacks. Like there's something there that draws them. They like it. There's a sweetness. It speaks to them that, right? People have that, but not everybody has that. And sometimes people are looking for like to attract like. Well, I grew up in these circles, in this community, in this town. I only want to date people from here. Nobody outside of it. Like even I live in Philadelphia. That's out of town. Philadelphia gets ridiculous number of rejections from New York because we're not in town. Like I drive to Philly. I'm not going to Philly for what? Like I got enough people here, So it just adds to the layers of compatibility and complexity. And I think that it's one of these things in dating that people, we have to figure out how do we understand who we are and like we the Jewish people, right? Like we're all like a convert is a Jew. You converted, you're a Jew. You're right. You're one of us. It's not different. It's even greater, such a greater level that you chose this life, right? Skin tone, like there's all sorts of Jews. There's Ethiopian Jews, right? They're also with dark skin. You've got very fair, pasty, pale, redheaded Jews with freckles, right? Everybody has this different look, but we also have a similar attraction or not to different looks and different styles. And so part of it is like generic, like if it's not my look or style, and others it's like, well, it's different. And I don't know if I'm drawn to that. But I have to tell you that I have met a bunch of people that happen to enjoy dating people who are converts and dating Blacks. And they have this love of it. In the same way, by the way, there's men and women who enjoy people who are bigger or smaller or taller. Like there's all these different nuances, and we're just searching for your person. So if the marketplace appears to be smaller, you could just thank God, because it weeds out so many people. Like it's so easy. Oh, you said no to me. We're done. Great. Next. Like this is easy. Because there's not so many people that appear to be right. But the truth is, for all of us, there's not really so many people that are right for us in the world. There's really such a minuscule number of people who are actually right for us. And we do need to look for people who have, somebody just commented, common values. And I would lead with that. I would lead with, let me tell you about who I am, right? So, you can see my skin color, you know what I look like, but let me tell you what I value about Judaism. To me, then I know who you are. That really puts me in touch with you. And that makes you so appealing to me. But it's difficult. It's yeah.
No, I just want to add, like, a lot of times, regardless of what the specifics are, what you just said sounds very nice in theory, and it is. But then it's like, okay, but I need to get in front of people in order to make that connection, in order for them to appreciate that about me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think one of my favorite things that you taught me is that it's not about, wait, I don't know if you taught me this, but either way, you for sure back it up. This is something that I always said when I was dating before I met you, but it's not about the number of dates. It's about the one marriage. So I am not looking to get more dates. Yes, the rejection hurts. They're two separate things. The rejection sucks, and constantly being told that you're not good enough or you don't fit a certain profile is not cool. At the same time, essentially you're just weeding out the people who wouldn't be for you anyway. So it may mean far fewer dates over a far more extended period of time, but it'll still ultimately lead you to the one marriage that God has in mind for you whenever it's supposed to happen.
Well said.
Yeah. All right, Aleeza, we have to close this out and let everyone get back to their other lives. But tell us a little bit about where people can get more information about coaching and all of that fun stuff that you have for them.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. We love the work that we do. We work as dating and relationship coaches, and we work with marriage-minded singles, which I am assuming if you are here, you are one of those. Our main goal in life, because this is we are driven by this. This is what I eat, breathe, sleep, and stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning for, is
literally.
Yeah, I have clients through midnight tonight, but to help singles get over their hurdles and under the chuppah. That's it. And everybody's got hurdles, not like you put it there in the way, but God put it there for you. And you got to keep jumping over these hurdles, whatever they are, to get under the chuppah. And so it's our specialty to help navigate and guide people through the process. And we do it in 2 ways. We do it one way, which is a la carte, pick a coach, pick a time, work with them, no commitment, just go enjoy yourself. And the other way is through a 3-month commitment. You join us and we get really serious, we get to work. But the best thing that you can do, because you won't know about any of these options to figure out what you want until you just sign up for a free 15-minute intro call. We offer it to all of our new clients. You are welcome to say hey, I've heard about you guys. I've seen these webinars and I really want to get to know you more. Can I just have a 15-minute call? You can. Go on marriagemindedmentor.com. Pick a coach. If you're looking through the coaches and you're like, Aleeza, who do I choose? Just pick me, and then I'll tell you who might be a great fit for you in terms of what you're looking for and what your background is and what your situation is and what each of our specialties are, because each of our coaches has a different specialty, and we want to make sure that we get you to the right person. So thank you so much for joining us. We are so grateful that you're here, and we will see you next week. Or maybe not. Maybe you'll get married by then. Yes.
One really important question came in, and I'm going to ask it. Will you still be coaching after you make Aliyah?
Yes. That's the only way that I can do it. So if you stop working with me, I'm going to cry because I won't be able to afford my life in Israel. No, this is what I do for life, for a lifetime. I am a dating relationship coach, and I am very inspired to help people. I will be doing this in Israel. I will just have different hours, but don't worry. I might be waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning for you, and I might be going to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning. In between it, I'll sleep for an hour, and we'll all be good. It'll be totally fine. Yes, I am taking this and my fabulous ring light over here to Israel, so you'll see me, but I might not have my yellow wall anymore. And we might do Sundays so that I can be like, 8 o'clock, and it can be like 1 o'clock in America, and West Coast, it'll be a little earlier.
Awesome.
Thanks. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time.